Hi book lovers, it's Jenny at Julia Baby Jen, and today I'm going to be talking about The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about this wonderful book, The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. I am a Patrick Ness fan. I adored the Chaos Walking trilogy, and I also adored A Monster Calls. I did read more than this, and that was a little disappointing, but I still liked it. I thought it was a good read, but it's so hard when you just love an author and they produce such great work, and then you have to compare it. So if it had been another author, I probably might have liked it even more than what I did. So I went into this cautiously. I did buy this when it was released, and I hadn't gotten to it yet, and I kept hearing such mixed reviews. I heard some people who loved it, and then some people who were really disappointed with it. I didn't hear anybody who out and out hated it. I just heard people who didn't connect with it or didn't really like it all that much, but they didn't hate it by any means. It was just kind of an okay read for them. So I went into it very cautiously. I did want to read it because it was Patrick Ness, and I bought the book, and I'm stubborn like that, and I wanted to read it. Whenever I buy a book, I tend to want to read it. Whether I hear bad or negative reviews about it, I try not to listen too hard. So I went into it pretty cautiously, and I would say the first 25%, I was like, yeah, trying to understand exactly what this book was about. And then about 25%, it was almost exactly there, that I got it. I understood this book, and once after that, it was such a great read. Like I said, it's not Patrick Ness's best work, but compared to, I liked it much better than More Than This. It's a solid 4-star read for me. That's what I rated it. And I did really end up really enjoying the read. I was pleasantly surprised. So basically what this is, the best way I can describe it, is it is half satire. So it's kind of a satire. He's making fun of YA paranormal romance, basically all the cliches and all that, like Twilight and Vampire Academy, stuff like that. He's making fun of that. With half of it has a satire. But then the other half of it follows this group of characters, some of the most interesting characters I've read. I adored these characters, and then just basically like a contemporary coming of age kind of story. So we have our main group of characters that live in this town. It's like a nowhere's town. I'm not sure they ever named the town, but it's just it's just a small town in middle America somewhere, I think Ohio maybe, I don't remember, but it's just a small town, and around them all this crazy shit is going down, like these crazy creatures, and this blue light comes, and people are dying, and it's just crazy stuff all around them, but they don't know exactly what's going on, because even though the kids see it, the adults ignore it. So all this crazy stuff is going on, and basically every 10 years or so this kind of stuff happens, and the indie kids, as they call them, are the kids who end up surrounded by it and trying to save the world and everything. A bunch of them die, and then the adults totally forget what happened and will blame it on some other reason that this happened, like an earthquake or whatever, and it wasn't really a paranormal activity, but the kids all remember. So these kids are kind of the rejects and the losers of high school, so they're the people who are The Rest of Us Just Live Here. They just live in this town where all this crazy shit is going on around them. They hear about this stuff. Normally it has nothing to do with them, but in this novel there are a few scenes where stuff does happen to them, and they are scared out of their minds, which anybody would be. So it kind of changes the dynamic a little bit, because they actually become a little more involved in the plot that's going around them, but yet they're not super involved. They're still involved with their own stuff. So I loved this concept. I loved how he was making fun of all that, and I love reading those books. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with those books, but he's just kind of making fun of them, and it's so cleverly done. I love it. So how he did this was, there's stuff like throughout the chapter that will allude to some of the stuff that's going on, but like I said, we're following these main characters where they don't know very much. But at the beginning of the chapters, he does give a little intro to the chapter of what's really going on around the town that the kids have nothing to know about. So chapter the first, in which Messenger of the Immortals arrives in a surprising shape. looking for a permanent vessel. And after being chased by her through the woods, indie kid Finn meets his final fate. So that's what really happens in chapter 1 in the town with this crazy paranormal stuff. But then it just goes on and has a normal chapter about these kids. So sometimes some of that will show up a little bit in the chapter, but for the most part, only reason we know any of this is going on because Patrick Ness does this little intro, and he's so making fun of, and there's like Finn, there's like 2 different Finns and 2 different Darwins and a Satchel. I mean, he's making fun of their names, and you know, they're the indie kids, so it's kind of fun. But then like I said, the majority of the novel is following these kids, and it starts off kind of, you're not really sure, it's kind of goofy, but they're dealing with some serious stuff and some serious issues, and by the end, I thought it was fantastically done. I thought the story, I loved these characters so much. I fell in love with them. Oh, they were so wonderful and so unique and quirky, and I just loved it. But their situation were very normal situations that a lot of kids have to deal with. So it was, some of them were a little extreme because one of them does have some powers, but it was still really cool. So our main character is Mikey, and then he is basically dealing with severe anxiety and can't stop. If he doesn't do something the way he thinks it's supposed to be, he can't tell you exactly how it's supposed to be. He has to do it over and over and over until he gets it right. He gets stuck in what he calls these loops, and he can't stop until someone else stops him. Most of the time it's hand washing, and he hand washes his hands so many times like they're bleeding because they're so dried out from him washing them constantly. And so his friends, his close friends know about this, but he starts out the novel trying not to show it because he went through a huge episode a few years ago. Their family is all kinds of screwed up, and they're now supposedly over it, and he doesn't want to have to go back to that again. Then we have Mel, who is his sister, who is actually a year older than he is, but she had a severe eating disorder problem several years ago, the same time that he had this anxiety, and she had ended up missing a year of school. So they're both seniors now. All these kids are seniors. So they're in the same grade now, but they're super close. He is very close to his sisters. His other sister, who is in here somewhat, she's not one of the main characters, but she does play a role, is Meredith, and she's much younger. She's like 10, and she's kind of the prodigy of the family and the one that's less screwed up. Their parents are crazy. His mother is a politician, and that's all she cares about is running for office, and is never around, and when she is, she's nothing but mean to them. And then their father is an alcoholic who almost had to go to prison because he stole so much money, but they made a deal and he still gets to work, but all his money goes back to paying what he stole. So he kind of screwed up their family, and he's most of the time not even around, and when he is, he's usually drunk. He's not a terrible man, like he's nice to his kids and his family, but he just is not there most of the time, and just kind of, and if he is, they end up having to kind of take care of him. So their family is all kinds of screwed up. Then Mikey's best friend is Jared, who is gay and who actually is part God. One of his parents is a god, so he has an affinity with cats, and he has a small healing ability too. So he has some quirky things going on there. And then it's his other best friend is Henna, who is also Mel's best friend. They became very good best friends when Mel was going through her eating disorder thing. And he actually had a crush on Henna for a really long time. She is pretty normal, except her parents are very super religious, and at the end of the year they're going to go to somewhere in Africa for a missionary trip that's actually at war, and she's scared to death to go. And then she just broke up with her long-term boyfriend not long ago, and so I think she's more normal of the group, but yet she's kind of like lost, really. She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know what she wants, so she spends a lot of time being a little bit flaky throughout the book, but I still really enjoyed her too. I really did understand her issues. So that's kind of the characters we're following and their situation, and then just following this normal day life. So anyway, the characters in this were just amazing, and I think what really made the book for me, and then the satire on top of it just made it interesting and a really fun read. And I just really enjoyed that, how he blended that together. And once I understood that's what was going on, it was such a great read. I just really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really unique, really clever. Patrick Ness does that really well, though. Really unique, very clever books, and that's one of the things I really like about him. You never quite know what his book is going to be like. They're all quite different from each other. So yeah, I really did enjoy this read. It was really fun. So if you're one of those people who like maybe a good quirky book, this is definitely one of the best quirky books I've ever read, so I would definitely recommend it. Leave me any comments below if you've read this book and what your thoughts were. I hope everyone has a good day. I will talk to you later. Bye.